MICA's official podcast. This is your host Kasturi.
And this is your host, Pallavi. This season is all about the Media Masters, where we take a deep dive into the ever evolving world of media and entertainment, seeking out stories, insights, and behind the scenes processes for you to hear. Today, we'll be discussing the world of television.
We are excited to have Ms. Megha Tata, Managing Director at Discovery Communications India, with us today on this episode of the Media Masters. Thank you so much for joining us today, ma'am.
Thank you, Kasturi. Thank you, Pallavi. Lovely to be part of the beautiful MICA community. I've been there for one such event. I think it was a debate we had done. Debate was done in MICA. It was really amazing. It was really fabulous. And so this is great to be part of this podcast piece as well.
Okay, that's really cool. We didn't know that you'd come to college before, but that's awesome. Let's dive into your background a little bit. You have a rich
Sure.
and storied experience with the TV industry. You've led top leadership positions at Star India, Turner Entertainment, HBO, BTVI. And these are all so different in terms of content, right? Like some of it is news, some of it is entertainment, some of it is children's entertainment. How did you reorient yourself to each new environment?
Well, Pallavi, I think when I started my career almost 30 years ago, it was very new to me at that time when I walked into this industry with not really knowing uh, what's in store, and it's o- in these 30 years when I moved from one organization to the other. I think one of the things I did sort of learned in hindsight is the one thing constant in life is change, and that is something I'm sure you know that you relate to it because we all experience this in our day-to-day lives. And I think the fact that change is, if you acknowledge the fact that change is going to be part of your life, then every new aspect which comes in your life is an adventure. And I've always enjoyed a great adventure. I'm a very adrenaline junkie, and I love outdoor sports as well. So I have played that out even in my professional career. It's always been exciting. I think every time I've left an organization has been at a time when I felt like, okay, I think I'm done here. Like there's nothing more exciting to learn or nothing more exciting to do. So what else? I want to sort of challenge the status quo. So every time I went into an organization, I went into a place which was not my comfort zone. It was to be starting all over again at some point. When I left Star, I went into Turner, which was primarily a kids play. And I'd never done kids as a genre in Star because Star didn't have a kids offering at that time. And so when Turner happened, that was an exciting journey because we started into the kids space. Then when I left Turner, went into HBO, which was a completely different world. While I had worked in the with that genre in Star as well, even in Turner, HBO was part of the Turner offering. But this role was about um, launching a ad-free proposition. So it was really a very different proposition. I was a salesperson. My whole journey was about selling advertising. And here I was taking up a role which was all about uh, anything but advertising. So it was about selling a product which is ad free, which was of course much ahead of its time at that time. So when we launched those ad free propositions, digital channels in HBO, it was a very different role for me. So that was a challenge I took. Then when I left HBO, I went into BTVI, which was a Reliance company, which was a business news channel. Now, forget about business news. I had never done news. I didn't ever consumed that genre. Forget about being able to, work in that space. So that was a most, I would say, the most challenging jobs of my career I have done would have been BTBI, but also the most gratifying because to have overcome that challenge environment in those 2 years was I learned so much in that. And then I come to Discovery, which is again a genre I had never um, you know run a network of this size, of this scale. And that is something really exciting as well. So hence, if you see a trend emerging in my career. It's always, I've always taken on something which is not in my comfort zone and try to excel over it. So that's in nutshell what I have done in the last 30 years in this industry. Hope that answers the question.
Yes, definitely. That's a fascinating journey. And one point that came up constantly is, you talk a lot about changes constantly, even in your own personal journey, and which actually connects to the next question that we wanted to ask you, that India is also seeing a slow and steady shift to the OTT programs over television. And what would you think that how has legacy television companies managed to keep up with this change? Do you think there has been a resistance from the industry to keep the two separate?
It's a great question, Kasturi, because and especially for all the students in from your university who are going to be walking into a very, very different world, where at least from when I walked into this world, right? When 30 years ago it was a very different ecosystem, and now the ecosystem is become even more challenging. So you're absolutely right. It has been changing in the last, I would say, 5 to 7 years. And we know that the traditional ecosystem, consumers were moving slowly into from traditional to digital. That was happening slowly, but last 2 years, especially when pandemic hit, that sort of accelerated this change much faster than what everyone had anticipated. So what possibly could have happened if pandemic had not happened, it would have taken maybe 5 to 7 years, has happened in 2 years. So now, in those 2 years, the entire change has taken so rapidly that not only the consumers are finding the change, have made that change, even the businesses are finding a way to adapt to that change. And those businesses who have not accepted and adapted the change are facing even bigger challenges and possibly questions of the survival as well. So the reality in India, of course, is that and which is the interesting play, because I think probably India is one of the few countries where both traditional as well as digital mediums are growing. So it is not an either or world, it's going to be an and world, which I keep talking about as well. That so both TV and the digital ecosystem will survive. The question is that because India is a huge country, as you know, and I also say this very often, that there are many Indias within India, right? So you need to be able to cater to the different Indias we have. And so one size cannot and will not fit all. So there will be pockets which need to be, there are certain markets, there are certain parts of the country which don't even have television yet. Forget about OTT, right? So there is growth for television to happen. There's growth on regional growth to happen. There is growth in digital consumption going to happen. Um, Data access to the data has played a big role in the growth of digital. The mobile penetration has helped in the growth of digital. So both are parallelly existing worlds, you know, and both will exist for another, I would say, for at least another 5 to 7 years. Both are going to grow. So the challenge, of course, is that how do you make both the businesses work? Because right, one is an evolved, mature business, and one is a nascent, growing business. And the nascent, growing business needs the funding, but doesn't have the profitability yet. And the mature business is giving you the money, but doesn't have the opportunity to survive in the long run. So that balancing of the act is a critical decision for most of the media houses to evaluate, really.